when you build the income statement to look at profitability, it's very easy to identify the sales components because you've got, your parts, the product that you're selling are really tied to these particular product groups that we're looking at, and the costs can follow that very well also. Now, when you get into variances, you can drive to what was the individual product that drove that. Typically, companies will look at it more in aggregate and say, of these other kind of bucket costs that aren't necessarily specifically identified to the product group, how would we fairly and equitably allocate that among the groups to represent that component in their profitability equation? And so sometimes it's headcount, sometimes it's revenue, but you pick something that you think will fairly represent the result, and then you drive to that.
Okay.
And we do that all the way through. So, that kind of gets you through to cost of goods sold when we're talking about operating variances, but you've got selling costs as well. And if you've got a shared service environment that is performing services for the global group like we do, then you have to say, how would we allocate the order entry group, the frontline customer advocate group across the product line so that they share their burden in the sales order entry process. That seems fairly aligned to either number of orders or revenue, but you can drive that down to a product line and get to what is materially accurate, fair, and equitable allocation among the product groups. And then certainly product line performance helps you identify where do I need to devote resources in the organization. Are there maybe some operating efficiencies in particular channels that we need to focus on? Where do I need to spend my time? And that's why we use really profitability at a product line grouping. It helps us organize that mechanic as well.
And do you find that identifying the cost drivers in order to do this process, does that sometimes in turn help you control those?
Oh, absolutely.
Those costs?
Yeah, if you know what the lever is, right? You can flex it up or you can flex it down. And sometimes it flexes hard, in each direction, and sometimes it moves up easily and down hard. So, but yeah, no, certainly when you identify what those drivers are, that is kind of the path to how do I affect a change? If I want to change, how do I affect it? So, yeah. And that's the fun part.